Hello and welcome to my channel. I go by theAbeyantHero, and today I will be guiding you through a step-by-step process of how I designed and came up with a collapsible version of the Tuxedo mask hat, made and designed for portability when traveling to different conventions. This project and the methods used within should not be just limited to the Tuxedo mask character, as you can use it for other applications with helmets or other headgear that you would want but also want to save on space. I wanted to gear this in a way to where it was budget conscious, and if you're a cosplayer, you may actually have a lot of these materials readily available at your disposal. The reason why I want to have this portion be more squared off and a little bit wider on this portion is because this is going to be the top of the hat and this is going to be the base. And as it opens up, it'll actually fit around the bigger circle, which will eventually have that kind of curve. So you might not recognize this, but this is actually the fabric that I had remaining from my Black Star cosplay years and years ago. This was the cutaway lower portion of a set of Dickies that were double knees that I cut into shorts. And this portion is the double knee section, cut away from here, and I'm going to replace as a supplemental section in order to square off this material right here. With my measurements, when I slipped out my head, I actually found that this is approximately just the circumference that I need for fitting around my head, but I needed a little bit more slack. And so in order to do that, I took the 22-inch measurement right here. The plan of action to square off this material, even though it has a taper, this measuring only approximately 19 to 18 inches, I'm going to first cut off a section that's tapered here, and then replace this section on the lower portion right here to eventually get a more squarish material. But because of the natural taper, I actually want to have it wider as it goes on this section. When working with fabric and patterns, always make sure to use a side that you will not be showing in order to mark the references. One of the biggest time savers and money savers is by using the triple check method in order to make sure that your patterns are just the way you need it before making any permanent cuts. I channeled my inner Abraham Lincoln when test fitting the fabric around my head, but it also reminded me how I wanted to cosplay Gon from Hunter x Hunter at some point in the future. If you're like me and no longer have a geometric compass in order to draw a perfect circle, what you can do is start by taking a fabric pin, poking it into the center of your cardboard, taking a piece of string and tying a knot roughly at the length of the radius for the desired size of the circle that you need. Place one end around the pin and take the other end around the pencil edge, and then trace a circle with your hand firmly placed on the center pin and drag the pen around to create a perfect circle. To update, I have made slight modifications since my last image of the cardboard. This one in particular is kind of a thinner, more flexible cardboard than what you would normally find, and the reason why I got that was to work well with the fabric being adhered to it. So the plan is I'm going to use fabric glue on the sides to kind of envelop the cardboard, so that way that's what you see on the outside, and same for here as well. And the reason why I'm not completely covering it in masking tape or duct tape is I want a little bit more promotion of adhesion to have something to grip onto while still covering the areas where moisture or sweat might come into contact with it, and I wanted a barrier between the cardboard and the moisture, so the duct tape seems to be working well. When I did my collar that stood for Black Star's cosplay, and the reason why was there's moisture from your mouth and from your sweat and just everything in general around the collar, and when I completely sealed it or laminated it with the black duct tape, it held up well, even though it was cardboard, and it was able to stand up and be good for the rest of the cosplay. So I'm using that same principle in this sense, so it'll fit right here, and if I break a sweat or if I get rain or other things falling on it, it won't turn to mush. Even though it's in the fabric, it'll still hold up. I made sure for the top side was a little bit longer and tucked underneath the inner brim sewing of the cardboard fold over. You'll notice that when sewing the circular pattern, you'll have to trim back little section tabs in order to fold down underneath or fold up for the interior and exterior sections of the hat. When you are off by even like a quarter of an inch, that over distance makes a huge difference in how much length you have. As I popped it on my head to test fit, I realized that it looked a little too much like the Pharrell Williams. I just had to trim it. I wouldn't be satisfied with it, so I had to trim back the cardboard 2 inches to 2¼ inches. That way it looked more uniform and proportionate to the tuxedo mask look. The bottom section of the fabric I left open and exposed in order to attach Velcro to it later. I used the section tab cutouts and covered the edges with a little bit of fabric glue so that the edges would not fray. I took these sections of Velcro and corresponded a top and bottom section to sew onto the stovetop pipe section and also the brim section of the hat. Through some trial and error, I noticed that the spring design that I initially had planned didn't work because it ended up showing some slack in some areas and the spiral section showing in others. Now I noticed that there were small imperfections and wrinkles in the fabric on the bottom side of the hat, but I took liberties with that and realized that it wasn't going to be perfect, but also noticed the fact that it is black. It would not show up unless a flash was used. I want to thank you guys for watching my video and your continued support by posting comments, subscribing to my channel, and sharing my video to all of your friends as soon as something new comes out. I really can't do this without you, and I'm super excited because we're on the approach to 1,000 and upwards and onwards to 10,000 subscribers. You guys mean so much to me every time I have a little bit of interaction, either in person or whether it be on my YouTube with the comments below. I get super hyped to keep pushing out the best kind of content for you guys to enjoy and share with others. Until the next video, happy cosplaying, keep on dancing. For those of you who have been keeping up with my videos as soon as they've been released, this is the answer to the last trivia question on my video. There was a good man named Paul Revere. I feel much better, baby, when you're near. You might remember the throwback song from the early 2000s from the band LFO. For those of you that got the answer right, congratulations. You have the new talent of lip reading. Achievement unlocked.